Voice of Vietnam now some more news. EU countries have formally adopted a plan to use windfall profits from Russian central bank assets frozen in the EU for Ukraine defense, the Belgian government said on Tuesday. Under the agreement, 90% of the proceeds will go into an EU fund for military aid for Ukraine, with the other 10% going to support Kiev in other ways. The EU expects the assets to yield about 15 to 20 billion euros in profits by 2027. Ukraine is expected to receive the first tranche in July, EU diplomats said. The group of 7 countries froze around $300 million worth of Russian financial assets soon after the Russia-Ukraine conflict broke out in 2022. Since then, the EU and other G7 countries have debated how and whether to use the funds to help Ukraine. A Russian-drafted UN Security Council resolution that called on all countries to prevent for all time the placement, threat, or use of any weapons in outer space failed on Monday, with a 15-member body split over the move. The draft failed to get the minimum 9 votes needed. 7 members voted in favor and 7 against, while 1 abstained. A veto can only be cast by the US, Russia, China, the UK, or France if the draft gets at least 9 votes. Russia's UN Ambassador Vasily Nebenzia said the Russian draft resolution covered both weapons of mass destruction and all forms of other weapons and was aimed at stopping an arms race in outer space. A Singapore Airlines flight from London made an emergency landing in Bangkok on Tuesday due to severe turbulence, officials said, with 1 passenger on board dead, and local media reporting multiple injuries. Singapore Airlines did not say at what point the injuries and deaths took place, but a passenger who spoke to Reuters said turbulence led to those not wearing seatbelts hitting overhead cabins. Thai media report said there were 30 injuries, while Singapore Airlines did not specify how many people were injured. The Boeing 777-300ER plane, with more than 200 passengers, was headed to Singapore when it made the emergency landing, the airline said in a statement. Turbulence-related airline accidents are the most common time, according to a 2021 study by the National Transportation Safety Board of the U.S.
And the main points once again, Vietnam reaffirms its commitment to a one-China policy. Vietnam's Hoi An ancient town is named among the best places to travel in July. And EU countries adopt a plan to use frozen Russian assets for Ukraine's defense. And that's the news from POV.
And now for current affairs. The 29th Nikkei Forum Future of Asia will take place on Thursday and Friday in Tokyo, Japan, where leaders from across the region gather to discuss the role Asia should play in an increasingly uncertain world caused by geopolitical instability and climate crisis. The Nikkei Forum Future of Asia is one of the region's leading annual forums to discuss Asia's economic and political issues. First held in 1995 by Nikkei, Japan's leading media, financial, and economic hub, the Forum Futures of Asia brings together politicians, business managers, and scholars from Asia-Pacific countries and territories to openly discuss regional issues as well as Asia's role in the world. And this year's forum will discuss Asian economic outlook, regional cooperation to build a digital ecosystem, Asia's efforts in achieving the net zero emission goal, the role of Japan, the US, and South Korea in Northeast Asian security. The UN Economic Outlook report published on May 16 made rather optimistic assessment of the Asian economy, especially in the Northeast Asia and Southeast Asia. The East Asia is expected a growth rate of 4.6% this year and 4.5% next year. The projection is underpinned by strong domestic demand, domestic tourism recovery, and signs of export improvement. Krishna Srinivasan, Director of the Asia-Pacific Department of the International Monetary Fund (IMF), made an assessment in April.
But the momentum carries over into 2024. We now project the region to grow by 4.5% in 2024, an upward revision of 0.3 percentage points relative to October. With this, Asia would contribute about 60% of global growth.
However, many experts believe that there are many factors threatening the growth of Asian economies, especially high interest rates for a long time in many major economies. Economist Koichi Fujishiro of the Daiichi Life Research Institute of Japan said that the strong dollars due to the U.S. Federal Reserve maintaining high interest rates is negatively impacting economic growth of Japan and some other Asian economies which depend heavily on imported energy and food. Therefore, at the forum, discussions on Asia's more independent economic and monetary policies will be a notable content. Tauhid Ahmed, CEO of the Indonesian Institute for Economic and Financial Development, said,
Ya, saya kira sebenarnya sudah dimulai oleh pemerintah ya, melalui kebijakan deglobalisasi ya.
The Indonesian government has been implementing some de-dollarization policies. The main issues agreeing to use the local currency in trade and service transactions. For example, trade between Indonesia and Malaysia and Singapore can use these countries' currencies, or rupiah of Indonesia, or trade with China using renminbi instead of US dollar.
Besides economic, technological, and security issues, a major topic at this year's Future of Asia Forum is building common mechanisms among Asian countries to respond to the impacts of climate change. The World Meteorological Organization April 23rd report said that Asia suffered the most natural disasters in the world last year, with huge losses of life and property. According to the report, Asia recorded 79 hydrometeorological disasters last year. More than 80% of the disasters were floods and storms, claiming more than 2,000 lives. WMO also found that Asia is warming faster than the global average. Asia experienced the hottest April in history, with intense heat waves stretching from South Asia, India, Bangladesh, to East Asia, Thailand, Philippines, and Vietnam, while heavy flood occurred in China, the UAE, Oman, and Afghanistan. Thai climate scientist Pech Manopakwe said that in the future, Asia will have to consider having unlivable areas because of climate change.
Uninhabitable Earth pattern is coming, because we might not familiar with that. We think that we are fine with the hot weather, but now with the temperature, the heat wave, the intensity of the last period of hot weather, I think we will have to make sure that people know about the risk as well.
Observers say that the presence of the leaders of countries which are experiencing severe heat wave will draw much public attention to discussions on the Asian climate crisis.